Good day, everybody. Thanks for being back. Thanks for watching us again. Today I want to speak to you guys a little bit, as you can see behind me. I want to speak about indoctrination of the public education system in South Africa, and I want to thank Dr. Hovind for making his slides available. Some of the slides are mine, most of it is his that I'm using, but it's the same belief system, it's the same idea, and so I just want to thank Dr. Hovind for that. Right, so without further ado, before we start with anything else, I just want to point out to the audience that there are 6 different kinds of evolution, and anybody wants to speak to you about evolution, make sure you speak about one of these, because the atheists and the evolutionists, they like to jump around quite a lot. They like to, when creationists start speaking to them, they like to jump from one topic to the next, and thereby trying to confuse whoever they are speaking to. Here's the 6 different types of evolution that exists. It's the cosmic evolution, which is the origin of time, space, and matter. Big Bang, in other words. Then you get the chemical evolution, which is the origin of higher elements from hydrogen. Then you get the stellar and planetary evolution. That is the origins of stars and planets. And just so that everybody knows, nobody's ever seen a star form. No matter what they say, they might lie and want to believe that they saw stars form, but it never happened yet. Then there's 4, organic evolution. That is the origin of life. Now, the origin of life is, as Darwin wrote, and that's where all of that comes in. Then you get macroevolution, which is changing from one kind into another. And then there is what I would subscribe to, although I don't like to use the word evolution, as you can see at number 6. You get macroevolution. This I will subscribe to. This happens. We can see this happen. We can observe it. Dogs becoming other types of dogs. You get lots of this happening within what the evolutionists like to call a species. Now, be very careful when you speak to anybody about evolution. That's going to be a problem later on if they keep jumping between these topics, thereby throwing you off what it is that you needed to talk about. Alright, so I just wanted to get that slide out of the way real quick, and then we can continue. Right, so without further ado, let's continue on to the next slide. Dr. Hovind used to tell a story of when he was a young boy. He had two older brothers, and they used to bully him a little bit sometimes and make fun of him and so on. And one morning he woke up and he found a banana. And he knew if he'd take it right now, his brothers can't do anything to him, he's going to have the banana. And he took it, but just before he started eating it, his 2 brothers came into the room and they started talking to him about it. They said, "So, we see you got the banana this morning." And he said, "Yes, it's my banana. I found it. It's mine." And so they started telling him a story about, "Do you know where bananas comes from?" He said, "No." He's being a young man, he doesn't know much yet. And his brother started talking to him about how bananas are actually molded spider legs. Yes, they told him, the banana's legs, when a spider dies, his legs molds together, forming the banana. This is what they told poor young Kent Hovind, that a spider turns into a banana. And that made him very, obviously they like to scare him. And this is what they did. They even told him that the 3 legs of this spider you can still see today in a banana. And there they are, the black spots running through the banana. That's the old spider legs. So, yes, people, they like to lie to you, to get you not to see the truth. You can also compare it with mice and rat poison. Specifically this box of rat poison, it tells you it's got about 95.9 or 99.5% of good rat food in it. But that 0.05% is poison, people. It's poison. And this is what they're doing to the textbooks, and this is what they're doing to the school system by trying to get evolution into the school system and trying to teach evolution to kids, trying to get them away from God. This is a very dangerous religion because, yes, although they do teach science, unfortunately, the good science is in there, but it's mixed in with this evolution religion, which is the poison, and that'll kill the rat in the end. I came across, in South Africa, I was trying to research, I was trying to find out if there's any laws specifically concerning what may be and what may not be in textbooks in schools. And unfortunately, I couldn't find anything. I don't know if I've researched wrong or whatever, and I'm asking my viewers, if you don't mind, please, if you have any idea of where I can find this law or these acts governing these textbooks, that'll be great. Please post it in a comment in the YouTube section here, in this YouTube channel. So without further ado, the only thing that I could find was this article. It was posted in the South African Journal of Science, the online version, and it's a review article on human evolution in South African school curriculum. I just looked at it a little bit, and I decided to take some extracts out of it. It's a very long review, and I'm not going to post the whole thing here on this video today. So out of the abstract part, you can read there, it says, a decade after the introduction of the topic into the South African public school systems curriculum, the theory of evolution by natural selection is poorly understood among those who teach it. You see, the teacher doesn't understand it. When they don't agree with it, the scientists like to say they don't understand it. And that flawed understanding is transferred to those attempting to learn it. The curricular support material and textbooks designed to underpin teaching and learning of evolution are often inaccurate. And then this next part here, it says, deeply held religious views in the country, especially Christianity, remains a stumbling block. How's that, guys? Your Christianity is a stumbling block towards understanding and accepting evolution. I made accepting red, guys, because you'll see this happening a lot. The evolutionists and the scientists like to use accept. You have to accept their theory. That's why I say it's a religion. It's not a theory. It's not a working theory. It's not science at all. Unfortunately, you have to accept it. So understanding and accepting evolution. The lack of scientific literacy. You see, if you don't accept their theory or their religion, then you are scientifically illiterate. Allows for continuation of social Darwinism and racial stereotypes and deprives the victims of those ills of the knowledge of mechanisms of thought to counter these ideas. I hope they're not trying to say that racism is because we are Christians and that science will, calling it evolution, will take us out of racism, because then they haven't really read Darwin's books full what do you call it? The full name of the book, the whole topic, the name of the book. It's a very long title. The title. Now, in Darwin's title, it speaks about racist. It makes race remarks and things like that. They're trying to pin it on Christians. It really doesn't work. Now, this review explores the relatively sparse but nevertheless well-conducted research into evolution education in South Africa. We conclude that an understanding of human evolution is essential to the country's growing democracy. I don't even know what to say about that. I don't see how you can bring democracy to evolution or science. I'm sorry, I must be scientifically illiterate. The significance, various obstacles in the teaching and learning of evolution are identified, and generalizable, didn't know that word exists, guys. Generalizable recommendations are provided to improve evolution education on a practical level. Evolution education is important for South Africa's public to take pride in our rich fossil resources, to understand and appreciate human diversity. This is, of course, a lie. Evolution cannot tell you anything about human diversity. Evolution can only pitch people against each other. But I digress. Anyways, it carries on there. You can read it at your leisure later, I suppose. Evolution is unproved, people. It's unprovable. This is Sir Arthur Keith who said this. He said, evolution is unproved and unprovable. We believe it only because the only alternative is special creation. And that is unthinkable. Yes, people, it's unthinkable that you might one day be judged for your sins. That's why let's rather believe in evolution and we get a ticket out of here. And even as they did not like to retain God in their knowledge, God gave them over to a reprobate mind to do those things which are not convenient. Romans 1 verse 28. So, in 2 Thessalonians 2 verse 11 it says, and for this cause God shall send them strong delusion that they should believe a lie. Right, carrying on with this review, the introduction part, it says, while science education was allowed under Christian national education, the science of evolution specifically was ignored. The hidden curriculum during this time, which was the apartheid era, made creationism, patriotism, race relations, and religion part of every school experience of white learners. Saying stuff like this in a country like this, where racial division is huge, and then blaming it on Christianity while you are saying it yourself in your own review, is not only lies, it's hypocrisy. One of the first tasks of the democratically elected government in 1994 was to reform education, with the goal of producing internationally competitive, literate, creative, and critical citizens. Did you hear that, guys? Producing citizens the way they want them to be. Curriculum reform took place in 3 stages. It's very important. I highlighted it to show you how sneaky these people are. They have to do it in stages. You can't just do it all at once. Otherwise, the people will catch on and no, you're lying to them. No. You have to bring it in like the poison in the rat food. 1, racist, and I'm not going to read all of that, guys. You can read it at your own leisure. Pause the video when you have to. These curricula were implemented gradually. There it is again. You see? Then, in the National Curriculum Statement, the word evolution was carefully avoided until grade 12. I'm sure I really don't have to comment on that. Why would they avoid the word evolution? Despite the progress made in South Africa in South Africa, including evolution in the curriculum, understanding and acceptance, there it is again, guys, told you to watch out for that word, acceptance of the topic is still low in the country. Research has shown that many people nowadays react to the theory of evolution much as they did during Darwin's time. They're putting us in Darwin's age here in South Africa. We're all dumb and stupid, boys and girls. We have to believe what the scientists tell us. Did during Darwin's time. They are distrustful and disbelieving and greatly resistant to change. No, we're not resistant to change. We would like truth instead of lies. As a result, many teachers, schools and school systems in South Africa either avoid teaching evolution, even though it is included in the set curriculum, or do not teach it appropriately. This problem is compounded by the fact that evolution is an inherently difficult concept to teach and to learn. You see, they tell you that you are not very clever. You are actually dumb, and you will not understand what we tell you. So just accept it, because we've studied it. This is what they do. It's classic atheistic scientist. It's just classic. Here's another piece. It carries on. It says, if learners are denied access to higher order thinking skills, such as the consilience of inductions, which apparently means combining multiple disparate avenues of evidence into a coherent theory. Did you hear that? Combining multiple disparate avenues of evidence into a coherent theory. Sounds like they making it up. Is that what it is? That's what it sounds like to me. Further learning problems when scientifically incorrect prior knowledge is committed to long-term memory. Really? They're telling you if you don't learn evolution, you're going to have learning problems. Basically what it comes down to. Now, this topic, under contention with religion, in the same review, it says a worldview is, and I agree with this statement, a worldview is the lens through which we see the world and the filter through which we process information. This is correct. People, either God made the world in 6 days, or time made it in billions of years. Someone's wrong, definitely wrong. We would like you to change your filter. We're not going to change ours. A person's worldview predisposes them to a specific way of thinking that is constructed through life experiences. Worldviews are generally subconscious, culturally dependent and non-rational. Okay, they just said we all look through a lens. That includes them, right? So they call this worldview usually non-rational, which means they're also non-rational. They're doing the work for me. They form the fundamental organization of a person's mind and create the assumptions that predispose a person to think, feel, and act in a predictable manner. A person's worldview determines how they will gauge the plausibility, plausibility of an assertion. Evolution, guys, is not science. It's not a fact. It's assertions, plausibility of assertions and stuff like that. Thus providing plausibility structure of ideas. Imagine long time ago. Yes, boys and girls, a fairy tale follows. Activities and values. Confirmation bias is when a person's values evidence that reinforces beliefs already held. So confirmation bias is when a person values evidence that reinforce beliefs already held. Yes, there is evidence of my God. Yes, it reinforces my belief in Him and ascribes more legitimacy to experts who agree with them and share their beliefs. They're talking about evolution. It's a religion. It's not science. A theistic worldview is often built on framework of faith-based, and evolution is not. You just said it is. Absolute and unchanging knowledge from a higher power or creator. Yes, belief. I believe in God. I don't make your children believe in God. But you pushing it down the throat of children in South Africa, your religion, not gonna fly. In contrast, the worldview that underpins science is generally inherently materialistic and requires observation and what they're explaining to you here, guys, is what science actually is supposed to be. Observation and iterative empirical testing to produce knowledge. Has anybody ever observed any kind of animal produce another animal which is not the same kind? Did any dog ever produce another non-dog? Did you observe it? If you find bones in the dirt, can you tell that it had children? And if so, can you tell that it had children that looked different than itself? It's just impossible. These religious students, this carries on. It talks about, this is Sanders and Kagan, use the framework of border crossing, right? They use the word border crossing to explore the understanding and acceptance of evolution among grade 12 students in a Jewish school. Border crossing is an apt framework to use when one considers science and religion as two different worldviews. These religious students, now this is very important, guys, listen very carefully. These religious students entering a science classroom have to transition from their personal and familiar worldview to that prescribed by science. So they just have to believe what you teach them. Believe, not prove. There's no proof. Analogies to crossing the border from one's country to another. So they're telling you that these religious students are struggling heavily. So yes, they're trying to tell you that a religious student that has to be taught evolution will go through all sorts of problems, because they are actually saying goodbye to their religion while embracing evolution. And it's really bad. It's a dangerous religion, this evolution, guys. I'm telling you now. For this, they willingly are ignorant of, that by the word of God the heavens were of old, and the earth standing out of the water and in the water. This is describing God's creation. 2 Peter 3 verse 5. It says that they willingly are ignorant of. That means dumb on purpose. They know they're dumb, but they keep on being dumb. It's on purpose. So it carries on. Even though an acceptance, there it is again, guys, acceptance of evolution is positively correlated with understanding evolution, it is not necessary. So you don't have to accept evolution to believe in it. A person can understand evolutionary theory without accepting it as true. What? Did you hear what they're saying here? A person can understand evolutionary theory without accepting it as true. Okay, this is not true, but I accept it. Or no, sorry, I don't have to accept it as true, but I understand how it works. I think a 5-year-old will understand that this sentence doesn't even make sense. Conversely, a person can accept evolution but not understand it. The other way around, in fact, as well. Okay. They also found that a belief in 6-day creationism dropped significantly in their student sample, although a belief in God as creator remained stable. If you can't believe in the Word of God, my fellow Christians, if you can't believe that God created the earth in 6 days, and you still want to believe in your God, I feel sorry for you one day. Guys, you can carry on reading this. I'm not going to spend too much further time on this. It carries on simultaneous beliefs in a God and theistic evolution. I don't know. These guys they believe in themselves. That's basically it. Is there anyone here who thinks teachers or textbooks should be allowed to deliberately lie to students for any reason? Of course not. Nobody wants their children to go to a school and be lied to. Anyways, they continue this review in the Science Journal. It says here, recommendations. In terms of recommendations for improving texts associated with teaching and learning evolution, the categorization used by Chuma and Sanders, 14, is useful. The following list synthesizes the problems identified and recommendations given in order to amend inaccurate and misleading texts in evolution education. Now, manifest errors, inaccuracies according to them, scientific facts and terminology need to be accurate and up to date and should not include manifest errors, which is what they say is, it means obvious and easily detectable inaccuracies. Nothing exploded created everything that we see today. Is that not inaccurate? No. Not pointing out common misconceptions. Textbooks should include a section about misconceptions commonly associated with the mechanics of evolution and about evolution as it is seen by society. Avoid euphemisms, they say. This is a way for them to help teachers to teach evolution. Avoid euphemisms. Now listen to this, guys. They are very, very, very sneaky. They openly actually tell you that they are sneaky. Milder alternatives to words that might be considered offensive. Because learners might not realize, listen carefully, because learners might not realize that the euphemism is being used instead of another term, the word evolution is often avoided altogether. Did you hear that? And the light just went on. The word evolution is often avoided altogether. Why would you avoid your God? So that you can sneak him into the subconscious of a poor, innocent child. Avoid it altogether in favor of terms like change and develop instead of evolution, guys. And then it says here, learners do not realize they are learning about evolution at all. Come, boys and girls, we're going to teach you a lie today. Sorry, we're going to teach you a change today. It carries on. Conclusions. According to this review, they say evolution is a vital component of scientific literacy. Again, we are all scientifically illiterate if you don't believe in evolution. These are various practical applications of evolutionary theory to human life, notably advancements in medicine. Now, this is the applications for evolution. Now, evolution is science, then it must have an application, something you can use in life. But there isn't anything, but they say the following are, notably, human life. Right, notably advancements in medicine to combat constantly evolving pathogens. Now, you can't use evolution in a pathogen evolving, guys. It's still the same kind of thing. It's not one animal producing a different kind of animal. So it's not evolution. You see, this is what they do. They will obviously use my acceptance of microevolution against me as well, saying, oh, you see, you believe in evolution. No, I don't. I don't. Anyways, it continues like this. Now, somebody who started this, and we all think that Darwin started with evolution. Guys, Darwin didn't start this. James Hutton wrote a book. He lived in 1726 to 1796, and in his book, Theory of Earth, James said the Earth is much older than most people thought. You see, he started there already. This comes out of HBJ, Earth Science, page 19. Right? Another great book which you can get to read if you can get it is A Great Turning Point. It's a great book, gives you a complete story of how the old Earth view became popular in the 1800s. And it's available from CSE, and there you can find that. In the book it says, Scottish scientist James Hutton estimated the Earth was much older. He used the principle of uniformitarianism. You're going to hear this a lot. This principle states that earth processes occurring today are similar to those that occurred in the past. It carries on here and it starts talking about another person who also sold this evolution idea, Sir Charles Lyell. I think I mentioned him in my first video as well. Sir Charles Lyell. Uniformitarianism. The present is key to the past. And this is, of course, nonsense. Utter nonsense. No. The Bible is the only perfect key to the past. Charles Lyell, Scottish lawyer, In the Minds of Men, page 69. Go read it. Sorry, I didn't post it yet. But that was just to show you actually a picture of Sir Charles Lyell. In 1830, he wrote this book, Principles of Geology. Sir Charles Lyell. Lyell said his goal was to free the science from Moses. Isn't that clear? That's what evolution wants to do. It wants to free you from your religion. Darwin did not think up the evolution idea, guys. He just made it popular. 6th century BC, Anaximander, the world, and countless other worlds, books that they wrote, Boundless and Will, they absorbed back into it, and so on and so forth. These are books that have been written by lots of people before. We talk about 6th century before Christ. Long time ago. These people have already tried to push this idea. This is how far Lucifer will go. Now, I can carry on. I can say first living creatures. This 6th century BC Anaximander said first living creatures came into being in water, and that in time these creatures crawled onto dry land and adapted themselves to their new surroundings. Anaximander said man came into being from an animal other than himself, namely the fish, which is in early times he resembled, according to Anaximander. And there's more like this. It's not just Darwin made it more popular in our time. So yes, these people have been trying to push this evolution theory long time ago, and many Christians and many believers in God falls for it. I believe it's the great deception of our time. These are the three false teachings. Millions of years, uniformitarianism, feminism, godless evolution still saturate textbooks today, whilst evolution is proven not to be true at all. Guys, I will show you over the course of lots of videos that we're going to post on this channel. I'll show you the evidence that evolution cannot be true. I'll give you one question to consider tonight. The moon is moving further away from the earth as we speak. Very small percentage of, I'm not sure how much, a couple of meters, maybe a year or two. But it's still moving away. Now, if you do the math and extrapolate, when would the moon have been on the surface of the earth? You will find out that evolution could not have happened. And please don't tell me that evolution happened without the moon and that the moon came after lots of dinosaurs. Please, please. 1 Timothy 6 verse 20, it says, O Timothy, keep that which is committed to thy trust, avoiding profane and vain babblings, and oppositions of science falsely so called. Science falsely so called. Hitler said, let me control the textbooks and I will control the state. E.O. Wilson, the humanist. As were many persons from Alabama, I was born again Christian. When I was 15, I entered the Southern Baptist Church with great fervor and interest in the fun religion. I left at 17 when I got to the University of Alabama and heard about evolution theory. I think he's been at this university for 30 years. Yeah, there it is. 30 years. Lost his faith because of evolution. When I entered Harvard in the fall of 1924, I was not only a Christian, I was also an avowed candidate for the ministry. He was going to become a minister. Then, for 4 years, I underwent a process of mental readjustment, which shook my little world to its foundations. Through it all, only one thing was clear to me. If I could reconcile religion with intelligence, I knew that I could go on into my chosen career fortified by the experience. If I could not, every consideration of honor would compel me to make other plans. In the end, I gave up the ministry. People who claim to be Christians as youths and lost their faith also as a result of evolution teaching are Charles Darwin. I'm not sure if you knew it, but Charles Darwin studied to be a preacher. Ferrell Till, former Church of Christ missionary, now editor of the Atheist magazine. Michael Shermer studied at Pepperdine to be a preacher, now editor of Skeptics magazine. Tom Hanks, Forrest Gump. Tom Hanks stars in movies with little or no morals. He used to be a Christian. Michael Roos, main spokesman at Raised in Christian Home. More people. John Templeton, who worked with Billy Graham, accepted evolution and wrote Farewell to God, a book. Frank Zindler studied to be a Lutheran priest, president of Ohio Atheistic Association. Matthew Rainbow, biology teacher at Antelope Valley Community College, Lancaster, California. And the list just goes on. Moses Mordecai, Levi, alias Karl Marx. At age 17, wrote a beautiful paper telling of his love for the Lord. Age 17. Then he went off to college, studied philosophy, and turned his back on God. At a very early age, while still a pupil in the ecclesiastical school, Comrade Stalin developed a critical mind and revolutionary sentiments. This is a friend of Stalin who's speaking here. He began to read Darwin and became an atheist. G. Grudjidze, sorry guys, I can't pronounce that name, a boyhood friend of Stalin's, relates, I began to speak of God. Joseph heard me out, and after a moment's silence said, "You know, they are fooling us. There is no God." I was astonished at these words. I'd never heard anything like it before. "How can you say such things so?" I exclaimed. "I'll lend you a book to read. It will show you that the world and all living things are quite different from what you imagine. And all this talk about God is sheer nonsense," Joseph said. "What book is that?" I inquired. "Darwin. You must read it," Joseph impressed on me. We all know what Joseph Stalin did. He killed more people than Hitler, and still Hitler is more popular in the world history as a dictator who almost devised genocide. Killed 60 to 100 million of his own people. Thanks, Darwin. Andrew Carnegie, the steel magnate, was once said to be America's richest man. Though raised a Christian, he became an atheist. He wrote in his autobiography, "When I, along with 3 or 4 of my boon companions, was in the stage of doubt about theology, including the supernatural element, and indeed the whole scheme of salvation through vicarious atonement and vicarious atonement, and all the fabric built upon it. I came, fortunately, upon Darwin's and Spencer's works. I remember that light came as in a flood and all was clear. Not only had I got rid of theology and the supernatural, but I had found the truth of evolution. You see, it's very liberating if you know, if you think you know, that you don't have to answer to anybody. Yes, boys and girls, believe in evolution. It means you will not have to answer to anyone ever again. And then we wonder why people, like in America where they have the school shootings, why young people are the way they are these days. It's because they believe in evolution. They've been taught by us, their parents, that evolution is true. It's always been their mark to try and keep evolution in schools and God out of it. US President Theodore Roosevelt was influenced by the evolution theory. He believed there were inferior races, like the Indians. There is no scientific evidence to support the evolution theory, except known lies. If real evidence exists, please show me, but don't lie to students to make them believe a theory. You see, magicians are great at getting people to see what they want them to see. Some evolutionists are even better at getting students to see what they want them to see. They're very good. You must see some of these teachers. They are passionate about what they teach. It's a religion. Evolution is dead. Some followers are having a hard time letting it go. They even lie to make you think all is fine. Did man bring death into the world? Or did death bring man into the world? These are fundamental questions. If you're a Christian, you believe that man brought death into the world, as it states in the Bible. If you're a evolutionist, you believe the exact opposite, which is why I believe it's a satanistic worldview. That's right, just keep going. Evidence for evolution is right over there. Satan is a liar. He really wants to use evolution theory to destroy humanity. God is not a man that he should lie. That's in Numbers 23:19. So let's summarize. God made the world. He owns it. He makes the rules, like the Ten Commandments. We are guilty of breaking his rules. We will be punished. Or we must find a substitute. And we know that Jesus is willing. So here's a question for you, my viewer. If you die today, where would you go? If you die right now, where are you going? Just remember, you'll be dead for a very, very long time. All you have to show for it will be a little dash between two dates on a gravestone. Why don't you use that little dash for God? Thank you very much, guys. I hope this was informative. I will have a little bit more for you next time, and I think we'll do it the way that Dr. Ken Hovind did it as well, just to keep the slides in order. And we'll start with a big bang. We'll go down the list of my evolution theories, 1 to 6, and we'll try to cover everything, lies in textbooks and things like that as well. So, but for now, I hope you enjoyed it. Please leave a like, leave a comment, and like I said in my first video, please let's keep it clean. We don't need to have harsh words with each other. If you don't agree with what I said here, leave a comment, tell me why you disagree. We're a civilized society. We can do this the right way.